Welcome to Services for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, a case study. In order to obtain a full understanding on how to work within the system for services of the deaf and hard of hearing, it is imperative that we are able to work through each status. What you'll find on this page is basic information for you to start to build a case. In the event of further training, you're welcome to create your own, but this is what you should utilize for now. Each of you should have a SDHH process flowchart, and what this does is this provides information on each status from referral to closure. If you're working across programs, they're always very helpful to put this up beside your desk or just have it readily available on your desktop. Because the statuses are different for SDHH, IL, and VR, they're a quick reference point for your admin or for counselors. Referral is the same across any program that you're working, whether it's VR, IL, or services for the deaf and hard of hearing. What is going to make it different is the target group, and we'll talk about that during the next slide. Your target group is going to be ODHI. Again, it is reflective of Offices for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, but this is what we will choose for services for the deaf and hard of hearing. So you'll see ODHI throughout the system, but it is equal to SDHH. Once an individual is in referral status or 00, and you've chosen the correct target group, then you can move forward towards completing the application. Click on your blue bar, and you want to put in app or filter for app, and you'll see the only option that's available at this particular time is the application for social services block grant, because you'll need to complete that first. And what that is the financial information that we are required to submit for services for the deaf and hard of hearing. Okay, so most of this information would have been completed. All of these items are necessary for us to prove income level. So you'll complete the drop-down box for each one. Education level, and then it has occupation, and if they had one, that's fine, and if not, you can leave that particular area blank. Usually I just go with whatever they reported last. Doesn't necessarily mean that's what they have going on at this particular point. Okay, so this is basically talking about all of the information that is required for individuals to qualify for the social services block grant. So you'll review this information with the client, and then this is where we will be required to sign and date. Once the social services block grant application has been completed, you'll go into your blue bar and you will filter for application again, and then the ODHI application for services will be available at that particular time. So you want to go in and complete this in its entirety: ethnicity, impairments, any other disabling condition, history of deafness, and of course you want any type of resources that are available for that particular individual. These should all have a Y or N, meaning yes, I need those services, or no. Otherwise, this will cause errors when you go to try to close this individual successful or unsuccessful. And the same thing here, it should all be completed in its entirety. Under the agreement for services, it should all be yes, and basically that's an individual stating, I understand my rights and responsibilities as a client through this program. If there are any relevant household members here, then we would put that information there. Usually it's just a single individual's income that is required because that income is going to be SSDI or SSI during these programs. We'll want to go ahead and sign this particular form. And at that point, you'll see that it's moved to status 03, and now they are in application status. After we've completed both applications for services for the deaf and hard of hearing, we're going to determine that individual eligible or ineligible. So at this particular time, we would have obtained any assessment information necessary to move towards the next step. So we're going to filter for certificate or CERT. Less is more when you're filtering. And you'll see the ODHI certificate of eligibility. Double click that. In order for an individual to be eligible for services, it has to be yes to all of these items. They must have a severe impairment, and they're limited and functioning independently within the community or their home. They will improve in the ability to function independently from our services, and you'll put your information here, and that is going to be based on the assessment information that you receive. You will sign and date it, and that will move you to status 05. Status 07, or ineligibility. If you find that during the assessment process that this individual does not meet the requirements for SDHH, then what you'll do is you'll go back to that blue bar and you'll come in and you'll filter for ODHI, and we'll pull back, or we'll pull in our ODHI certificate of eligibility. Individuals are found ineligible if they do not meet any of these criteria. If they don't have a severe impairment, or you don't feel, or you don't have the proof that they are substantially limited in their ability to function independently in their family, community, or they're able to obtain, maintain, and advance in employment without our assistance. And so again, if any of these are no, the system will automatically, let's tab out of that, will automatically state that this individual is ineligible for services. And so once you sign and date it, it will then move that individual to status 07, ineligible. They will then be notified via letter of their status of ineligibility. At this time, after we have certified this individual as eligible and sent out our approval letter, it's time for plan development. Let's click on our blue bar. And we can filter for independent, and you'll see ODHI Individualized Written Independent Living Program. And this is our plan for services. Double click that. And now we're ready to go ahead and get this individual started. Put your dates in. And then here's where we're going to go ahead and provide our goal. What are we looking to do? We're looking to improve communication, improve sign language. We want them to be able to maintain their personal business. So we'll go ahead and we'll choose that. And so the goal dates for this is going to be that year term. And then we're going to provide our objective. Our objective, again, it's going to differentiate on what type of service you're providing. What do you want this individual's end goal to be? And we do have a list of independent living objectives for you to be able to choose from. Measurable outcomes, you'll have a drop-down date here. How we're going to monitor the progress towards that objective. Did we increase their mobility or their ability to get in and out of the home or get back and forth to doctor's appointments? What exactly did we do, and how are we going to monitor that progress? This goal is going to always be pre-populated, just like any other program that we have, because counseling and guidance is something that's going to be provided for individuals across the board. And you'll add a paid-for service just like any other program. Yes, I do want to add. And there is no minimum amount of goals there's no maximum amount of service provision that has to be on a plan for services for the deaf and hard of hearing. Client views, what are they looking to do? What's some contribution from them as far as what they hope to achieve? We'll go here up under objectives and services and their client views. You'll assign and date it, and then that individual will now be in active status or status 09. Status 13 or unsuccessful closure from plan development. In the event that we were unable to provide the individual with increased independence, then what we'll do is we will close the individual out unsuccessful. Go back to the blue bar, and we will filter for independent or IND, and what you'll see is SDHH Individualized Written Independent Living Program Review. So we'll double click on that, and you'll see the individual's information pre-populated, the goal and objective. Counseling and guidance, of course, is going to be the objective as one of our plans for services. And you'll see the paid for service here as well. Yours will look a little bit different than mine. And then we'll go down to closure reason. Whatever was the case, we couldn't find the client or they didn't have a good medical prognosis. So we'll just choose that here. And then we'll sign and or date the plan, and we will then be moved to status 13. Just make sure that the form is completed in its entirety. Sometimes an error may pop up, and it is because one of the previous forms wasn't completed as it should, or it may be an older case. Just kind of either staff it with your RAM, and they can advise you to contact me, and we'll see if it is a service issue or if it is a form issue for closure. Service is completed, successful closure, yay! We got that individual that hearing device, those services that were needed for them to become more independent in the community. Just like we did for an unsuccessful closure or status 13, we're going to pull in that same form, SDHH Individualized Written Independent Living Program Review. And you're going to complete it in the same manner, making sure everything is completed and dated thoroughly. You don't necessarily have to have notes. Let's look at our closure reasons. Services completed is what we're going to be looking to place here. And that will place us, once we date it, in status 15. Remember, each case needs to tell a story. And that is also true whether you're working in independent living or SDHH or traditional VR services. So we need to ensure that we are documenting what's happening throughout the case. Just a few reminders. Counseling and guidance remain essential. There should always be a case note for any status change. The SDHH process flowchart is essential when you're working across several types of programs. And clients who require any type of hearing related service and it's for independent living, they should be considered for SDHH prior to VRIL. When you are looking for your professional development hours, seek out training that's directly related to hearing loss. And being knowledgeable about sign language will make your clients happy who utilize this as their first How do you find your clients for the services for the deaf and hard of hearing? What you want to do is you want to go to your PDQs, type in program for filtering purposes, and view open closed clients by program. Double click. Program code list. You'll see the drop down box. And although we've renamed Office for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, SDHH, you'll want to click here. And right now we're only going to be looking for our open cases. So I'll leave that AO and submit. Takes a little time because I have all of the clients across the state. And there you have it. You should see a list of your clients.